Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now, over the past, let's say 18 months, we've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, especially recently this year in 2026, due to the geopolitical tensions, especially in the Middle East, with a lot of clients and people living in Dubai, have second or third relocation hubs, look at investing property abroad, and simply for business reasons, been so actively traveling. Now, a massive a problem we've gone and seen is the corporate tax residency, which also ties into economic substance. Now, what is key here, it's going to be quite a short video, but just to briefly explain what corporate tax residency is. Now, this is placement of effective management. Sometimes you might hear it come across in another key term as place of effective management, POEM, economic substance, controlled foreign company rules. Now, what's important here is where the actual business, the main board, the main economic choices, who's running the company, where are these choices being made from? For example, we see a company like Starbucks. Starbucks, has a buying power of 4 or 5 billion plus, right? So it's very easy for them to, let's say, have an IP holdings company over in Cayman as a random example. And they're able to then simply have an office and prove that they're making the economic choices from there. But how can a daily, let's say, £5 or £1 million entrepreneur simply have an office over in a place such as the Cayman Islands and get access to the economic substance and prove that the actual placement of effective management or the position of effective management, their vital business interests and business choices and decisions of running the company is actually made from that particular island, okay? Whether it's even not an island, right? It could be somewhere like Cyprus, it could be somewhere like Dubai, it could be Cayman Islands, it could be British Virgin Islands, it could even be Hong Kong and Singapore. The ever increasing scrutiny from governments in a corporate sense is where are you making your economic choices from, not on a personal tax tie, on a corporation tax tie. Now this is what's key, because potentially you could have an offshore company that is completely useless. So this needs to be done properly and structured correctly. And again, it depends. Sometimes where you're living, they're quite flexible. There's no such thing as CFC rules. They don't mind where you're running your company from. In other jurisdictions, even such as Bali, where I am currently right now, there is an increasing scrutiny towards, well, why don't you have an Indonesian PMA, right? So you need to have those local directors in the local island. That's number one. Maybe that's potentially local staff. Offices filing for economic substance, if that is a thing in that local jurisdiction, such as Cayman Islands. Again, that's slightly increasing the costs. So what does this mean for a daily entrepreneur, right? If you're, let's say, living in Prague, as a prime example, that's actually a really good friend who lives in Prague, and he's actually got a US LLC and a Dubai company. There is no substance on either of these companies. They're practically shell companies. So what's very important is you make sure they do have economic substance and the vital choices are being made there. It's not a random directorship you're going to be buying from some random Saudi Arabian firm for, let's say, Ahmed, who is a director of a company and a simple piece of paper. That is not the case at all. These are real directorships, real arrangements where they're actually making key choices within the business. And that's really what we call expanding globally. So to actually be very tax optimized when we speak in a corporate sense is not just actually owning a company, let's say the Cayman Islands as a holding company that's receiving dividends, or let's say Gibraltar, or any of these random offshore locations. It's all about the economic substance and the placement of effective management. So just a really, really key message today. For those of you guys who are already offshore or thinking about going offshore, make sure it is done correctly. We've done it correctly for over 75 clients now, and again, these are very loyal clients that do pay us nice retainers as well because they love the service and we are always there for them. And that's what's key, is working with somebody who is always there for you with no conflict of interest, not trying to upsell you certain or random products or push you towards, rather expensive companies in the UAE. Okay, so we've seen it recently, especially in 2026, but most recently in the past 18 months. We see it with US LLCs, we see it with Dubai personal and corporate entities and people who generally aren't making those economic choices from the place where their companies are actually located, right? So this is what's very key, and it needs to be done properly. And there's many ways of achieving this state. Again, it's all very unique to the client, the business model, and the type of industry which they're operating in and who they actually have to satisfy. So So for example, me myself, if I continue to live in Bali, I then actually need to satisfy the local Indonesian authorities in terms of the tax authorities. Now, when we look at other economies such as, let's say, Australia with the ATO, I've made a video before on how strict they are and how crazy they actually are at attacking and scrutinizing these structures. So certain countries such as Australia, the UK, this country, that country, it could be much more aggressive, and e.g. you'd have to provide a lot more economic substance, e.g. increasing the fees yearly. That's more directors, more employees, real office space, not just a simple registered office, but to prove that real choices are being made from the island. So quite a simple message today, guys. Very simple. Set up a company correctly, structure it rightly, and make sure you're satisfying those economic substance requirements to make sure that corporate tax residency is where the company is located. You're not running a Gibraltar company from Switzerland. You're not running a Cayman Islands company from Bali, for example. There's a real economic board and real substance behind all of the infrastructure which you actually own. So that's the key message here today, guys. I'm going to keep things very short. And I hope that's very useful to those of you who are entrepreneurs and do obviously have offshore companies. I think it's a key message, and I really wanted you to take that message home today. So cheers, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.